So I've asked my subscribers to tell me what Willie Nelson album I should react to. And the plan is for them to send me Willie Nelson t-shirts. And what I'd like to do is to wear a new Willie Nelson t-shirt for each song on the album that I'm going to be reacting to. Nobody on YouTube has done that. Here's the album cover. Recorded in Nashville. In his autobiography, Willie recalls, I switched over to a big Baldwin hooked up to an aluminum amp. When the net broke, I traded it for a Martin made of rosewood, an acoustic model with the richest, most soulful tone I'd ever heard. He had his guy, Shot Jackson, a guitar genius in Nashville, customize the Martin trigger by integrating the guts and pickup from the Baldwin. It worked. He finally got the sound he was looking for. I heard it as a human sound, a sound close to my own voice. First time I've heard that. Didn't take long for me to pick a hole in it. That's cause classical guitars aren't meant to be picked. You talk about going against the grain. That thing still has a hole in it. But that hole seemed to deepen its soulful tone. I don't know, man. My own peculiar way sounds like a good album review, if you want my opinion. So the tracks on this thing, My Own Peculiar Way, I Walk Alone, Any Old Arms Won't Do, a Hank Cochran song, I Just Dropped By, Local Memory, That's All, I Let My Mind Wander, I do that all the time, it works for me. Natural to Be Gone, Love Has a Mind of Its Own, Message, and It Will Come to Pass. Good candidate for an album, My Own Peculiar Way, 1969. Then the 70s, Both Sides Now. Interesting, I've heard that title before. This came out in 1970, March of 1970 on RCA Victor. Both Sides Now. Here's the album cover. Beardless Willie. Clean Willie with a pea coat. With the dawn of the new decade, Nelson had not achieved the commercial success at RCA that he had hoped for. He did have some hits for Farron Young, Hello Walls, Billy Walker. Funny how time slips away, I'm not familiar with that one. Everybody Knows Crazy by the great Patsy Cline. Wrote a hit for Roy Orbison, Pretty Paper. Don't know that one. His biggest single at RCA was the Vegas-styled cover, Bring Me Sunshine, which hit number 13. Chet Atkins trying various approaches. Chet was trying to get Willie some traction as far as being a performer, from what I'm gathering here. Live LPs, doing the Texas-themed concept album, but Willie's mainstream success remained quite elusive. After the underwhelming performance of the album My Own Peculiar Way, so it sounds like it was not a hit. A year passed before November 1969, sessions began for Both Sides Now. Joni Mitchell-esque. I'm sure in title only. Okay, Both Sides Now. 1970s, first album of that decade. Laying My Burdens Down, released in September of 1970 on RCA Victor. Laying My Burdens Down. Then we had Willie Nelson and Family in 1971, almost a year later. Let's check that out. His 12th studio album. So it sounds like Willie was still frustrated with the production and the lack of sales of his albums on RCA. His live show continued to develop in the early 70s as he started acquiring the core members of his band. So this is when that started happening. in the 70s. B. Spears was on bass, Paul English on drums, Mickey Raphael on harmonica, great harmonica player, and his sister Bobby. So it sounded like, correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby joined the band in the 70s. So he referred to the band as family. What we have on this thing. So the track list, What Can You Do to Me Now? You've done everything else. Sunday Morning Coming Down, a Chris Christopherson song. I've heard Johnny Cash's version. I reacted to Johnny Cash's version on the channel. I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Did not know Willie did that. Of course, I've reacted to Hank Williams' version of that. Fire and Rain, James Taylor, he did that one. Okay. Kneel at the Feet of Jesus, I'm a Memory, Yours Love, I Can Cry Again, That's Why I Love Her So, Today I Started Loving You Again, classic. 1970s Willie Nelson and Family, 1971. Let's go back there. So here's that album cover. The goal is to have you guys send me in some Willie Nelson t-shirts, and if you are interested, let me know. You can email me at my email, which I'm going to drop in here in a second. I'm just trying to learn some stuff. Thank you for being with me today. Willie Nelson and Family. So that was the second one of the 1970s. And then we had his album, Yesterday's Wine, released November 15th, still on RCA, November 15th, 1971, Yesterday's Wine. Then we had The Words Don't Fit the Picture in 1972. Interesting. The Words Don't Fit the Picture. So that was February of 72. Then July of 72, we had The Willie Way. And we got to look at that one. The Willie Way. Look at Willie. Look at him. So this was his 15th studio album. This was also the last album of new material released by RCA before Willie left for Atlantic Records and moved to Austin. Okay, so The Willie Way, his 15th studio album, was the last released by RCA Records before him moving to Atlantic Records and moving to Austin. Here we go again, underwhelming. The Willie Way capped off Nelson's underwhelming 7-year tenure. Wow, he was there for 7 years at RCA. And from the sound of it, underwhelming and all, it doesn't sound like they were very good years. He never attained the same success as a recording artist that he had as a songwriter, and became more frustrated with not being allowed to use his own band on his recording sessions. So I'm hearing that a lot, part of the old Nashville machine. Here's how we gonna cut these records, boys. You're gonna play with this guy, that guy, and this guy. And oh, by the way, I got a great horn section over here. Like it or not, this is how we're doing it. I can see how that kind of situation gave way to an outlaw movement.